are Slade and Michael, and we're playing the Indie Hack. We find ourselves watching Abel, Hand of the Three Ladies, an exorcist, trudging through the fetid swamps of Kalax. Tell us a bit about Abel.
Abel is an exorcist, pretty weary of the world. He's recently suffered a loss, losing somebody dear to him in the fight, in the struggle that he always goes through. And so he's come to the swamp to try to make amends or find knowledge that he can use.
Okay, so trying to bury the past, or trying to sort of synthesize it.
There's been something out here. I'm thinking either maybe a person or a place, dark knowledge, forbidden knowledge, and so he's come out here to fight evil, but it just so happens he's fighting it near where something may be able to help in his fight,
okay,
in his struggle to get back his loved ones.
Okay, and is this hidden, forbidden knowledge? Is this something that he wants to obtain or destroy?
That's currently, I think, what's in his mind.
Is that decision?
Yes.
Okay. But we are sure that this knowledge exists somewhere in these fetid swamps.
Correct, as far as he knows. As it starts, he's an armored individual, sword, shield, gleaming armor underneath it. He carries himself like a veteran, a military man. Scarred face, not just pretty much sunburnt, with a few fights and broken nose. Hands are kind of twisted and hurt, like he's gotten in too many fights and broken a few fingers too many times. Very scarred individual, both on the outside and on the inside.
Are these three ladies, are these the three goddesses of the Indie Hack kind of pantheon?
Correct.
Okay. He's a defender of all of their values, or?
Correct. Yes, he in his view, the three ladies are all manifestations of the natural world. They all have their place in it, and so at various different times, he's called to stop anybody really who's against that natural order. And so he calls upon the strength of whichever lady is currently needed or that he's defending.
Gotcha. That's going to be a hard circle to square, but I like it. Okay, we find ourselves following Abel, Hand of the Three Ladies, through the fetid swamps of Kalax. He happens upon a fork in the road. Now, the one fork goes north and the other fork seems to go kind of south. Which way does Abel travel?
As far as he knows, all the tells he's heard, what his prize is always north.
Okay. So Abel travels north, and that's really rather handy because it looks like the northern path has been kept up by someone. Of course, you know that the swamp clans claim all of these lands, the lands that you've been walking through for a few days, as their own. But you haven't seen any of them. You've seen some of the signs of the swamp clan, bone chimes that they make from femurs, typically, that hang in the trees. And they have a kind of eerie, hollow, clanking sound. You start to hear some of these bone chimes as you travel further north along this path. And you can see that there are sort of muddy footprints in where the water has pooled on this little raised bit of pathway.
Abel right now is mainly concentrating on those the hanging bones, hoping he doesn't become the next wind instrument down the way some, and keeping his eyes out for if there's anybody who's trying to ambush him. The fact that it's so quiet worries him.
There's a slight sort of clicking and buzzing as of typical swamp insects. But yeah, as you say, there's not a lot of other sound happening. Normally you'd be hearing little snicks and snaps of things. Just when you realize this, you hear quite a loud little snap somewhere off to your right.
his sword's out in a heartbeat as he draws and pulls his shield up and looks toward the right.
So down towards the right, the land kind of drops down a bit and is very swampy, very, very wet, and you can see some little bubbles as of little methane vents and things like that. But you see the source of this sound. It's one of these freshwater octopuses that has climbed a tree and has snapped off a small branch. As it climbs its way towards a thinner branch, maybe 10 feet up on the tree, where there is a small nest of flying squirrels.
Goddamn tentacle beasts.
Pretty much.
He just kind of puts it out of his mind, keeps his eyes on it, but continues down the path.
A few moments later, he can hear the kind of characteristic crunching sounds of nature and the great circle of life continuing. It's possible that some of the flying squirrels were mature and were able to escape, but there's no way to really tell. So you continue down the pathway, and you begin to smell that characteristic smell of meat roasted over open flames. And there's a bit of smoke just off to your left, coming out through the trees.
Abel's not a quiet man, but I'm going to go ahead and going to approach the fire as carefully as possible. Try to keep it at a minimum, not sneak, but just see if I can get the first look at them before they get a look at me.
So the road does continue on, going basically straight, but there is a kind of pathway that curves off to the left, again built on this kind of raised up peat that's been tramped down by hundreds of feet. It seems like that path would be the way to take to find the origin of the fire, and you hear just a few quiet sounds of people talking around a fire, and then you hear a kind of shriek of a woman. Seems like she's in a lot of pain.
The shriek brings him out of kind of his slow walk to try to get there, and sword and shield out, he advances. I'm going toward the camp.
Okay, you make your way down that side path, and after 100 yards, the path becomes a clearing, and you can see some small huts. The source of the smoke and the cooking smells is obvious. It's a little fire in the center there. Someone's roasting some meat that you don't recognize over the fire. There are 3 people standing around the fire, all perfectly gray, as if painted in mud. 2 men and a woman, and you can hear the source of the shrieks, and the shrieks are coming more frequently now. There is a hut just on the other side of them where the sound is coming from.
I'm guessing they don't look at all concerned about the shriek.
No, they're not bothered by it at all. But when they see you coming towards them, they draw spears from beside them and look prepared to fight you.
Hi, this is Jason from the Gauntlet Gaming Community. If you enjoyed this episode of Comic Strip AP, please consider supporting the Gauntlet on Patreon. Our page can be found at patreon.com/gauntlet.